Command Sergeant Major Rodriguez congratulated my wife on her pregnancy at the battalion family barbecue, but I'd been home from Afghanistan only 4 months. The math didn't work. It was one of those perfect Colorado September afternoons at Fort Carson. Blue sky, mountains in the distance, smell of burgers on the grill. About 50 military families spread across the picnic area behind battalion headquarters. Kids running around with face paint, spouses laughing, soldiers in civilian clothes finally relaxing. My battalion, 800 soldiers, and I'd just spent 13 months in Kandahar. This barbecue was supposed to be our homecoming celebration. I was standing near the drink cooler talking to a couple of my platoon leaders when Rodriguez walked up. He's 41, been my command sergeant major for 3 years, the kind of NCO who keeps a battalion running while the commander handles strategy, solid, loyal, the best enlisted leader I've ever worked with. He clapped me on the shoulder, grinning. "Sir, congratulations on the baby. Mrs. Sullivan told me at the FRG meeting last week. That's wonderful news." I felt my face freeze. "What baby?" His grin faltered. Jennifer said she's expecting. I thought, I'd been home exactly 4 months and 3 days. I know because I counted every one of them during that deployment. 13 months overseas, 4 months back. I looked across the picnic tables. Jennifer was standing about 30 feet away, talking to Chaplain Morrison, our base chaplain, Bradley Morrison. He's 38, been at Fort Carson for about 18 months. Non-denominational, leads the family support groups, counsels soldiers and spouses. Good guy, I'd thought. Really stepped up during my deployment. When Rodriguez mentioned the pregnancy, Jennifer's face went white, like all the blood just drained out. Her hand went to her stomach, an automatic protective gesture, and she stared at me across the crowd. Chaplain Morrison was mid-sentence. Then he noticed her expression, looked at me, looked back at her. Then he excused himself and walked away. Fast. Rodriguez saw it too, realized something was very wrong. "Sir, I'm sorry, I thought..." "It's fine, Sergeant Major." My voice came out flat. Military autopilot engaged. 22 years in the Army, you learn to compartmentalize. "Thank you for letting me know." He looked like he wanted to say something else, but I turned and headed toward the headquarters building, away from the families, away from the burgers and the laughter and my wife's white face. I needed to think. I needed to do math. 4 months home. If she's pregnant now, showing enough to tell people, that's what? 4, 5 months along? Maybe 6? Which means conception was during my deployment, while I was in Afghanistan. The battalion headquarters was mostly empty on a Saturday. I walked to my office on autopilot. The door had my name on it. LTC James P. Sullivan, Battalion Commander. I'd worked my entire adult life for this position. Command is everything in the Army. It means 800 soldiers trust you with their lives, their careers, their families. I taught my soldiers that honor is non-negotiable. I closed the door and sat at my desk. On the wall behind me, there's a shadow box with my Purple Heart. Earned it 2 years ago during a TBI incident. Traumatic brain injury from an IED blast. That's when things changed for me. Started having trouble sleeping, irritability, distance. My doctor called it adjustment disorder. I called it being fine and got back to work. On my desk, there's a framed photo of our family, professional portrait from last year. Me in my ACUs, Army combat uniform, Jennifer and Kenzie in formal wear, American flag background. We look perfect. Everyone says so. The photo hangs in the headquarters lobby too, where every soldier sees it when they come to work. Commander Sullivan's family, marriage goals. I stared at that photo and did the math again. 13 months deployed, 4 months home, pregnancy visible enough to mention at FRG meetings. The math didn't work, unless it wasn't my baby. My phone buzzed, text from Rodriguez. "Sir, I'm in my office if you need to talk. I'm sorry." I texted back. "Need the FRG meeting attendance logs, last 8 months. Can you pull those?" 3 dots. Then, "On it, sir." Rodriguez showed up 20 minutes later. He knocked, came in, closed the door. He had this green spiral-bound notebook, the kind we use for official sign-in sheets at every military function. Standard protocol. Everyone who attends signs in. Name, rank, time. He set it on my desk. Didn't say anything at first. just opened it to a page marked with a yellow sticky note. "Sir," he said quietly, "I pulled what you asked for, FRG meetings during your deployment." He paused. I noticed something. The FRG, Family Readiness Group, is how the Army supports families during deployments. The commander's spouse usually leads it. Jennifer's been the FRG leader for our battalion since I took command 3 years ago. She's good at it. 400 military families look to her for support, information, resources. She organizes events, coordinates with other spouses, runs meetings. And apparently, she also runs prayer meetings with the chaplain. Rodriguez pointed to a page dated August of last year. Last August, 2 months into my deployment. "These started as weekly prayer sessions," he said. "Mrs. Sullivan requested spiritual support. Chaplain Morrison volunteered. Standard procedure, chaplains do that all the time for spouses dealing with deployment stress." I looked at the sign-in sheet. 2 signatures. Jennifer Sullivan, Bradley Morrison. Time, 1900 hours, 7 p.m. Rodriguez flipped forward. Next week, same 2 signatures, 1900 hours. Week after that, same. Then the frequency changed. He flipped through pages. "Sir, they went from weekly meetings to twice a week, then 3 times a week." He turned to October. By the end, they were meeting 4 times a week. I looked at the signatures, page after page, just 2 names, over and over. Jennifer Sullivan, Bradley Morrison, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 23 meetings total, always just the 2 of them, always late evening, 1900 hours, 2000 hours, sometimes as late as 2100, 9 o'clock at night. "Prayer meetings," I said. Rodriguez looked at me, said nothing. The spiral-bound notebook had coffee ring stains, yellowed pages, that old paper smell. The spiral wire was bent from years of use. I could hear it scrape when Rodriguez turned pages. Just this rhythmic sound, scrape, flip, Jennifer Sullivan, Bradley Morrison, Jennifer Sullivan, Bradley Morrison, 23 times. "Thank you, Sergeant Major," I said. "That'll be all." He stood, hesitated. "Sir, if you need anything," I said that'll be all. He left. I sat there staring at the logbook. The pages made this soft rustling sound when I flipped through them myself. Every page told the same story. 2 people, alone, late at night, every week, for 8 months straight. While I was in Kandahar teaching my soldiers about honor and integrity and the importance of family. I went home an hour later, military housing on post, those houses where you can hear your neighbors through the walls. We have a 3-bedroom because of my rank. Kenzie was in college when I deployed, so it was just Jennifer in the house, waiting for me, supposedly. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, unloading the dishwasher, that normal Saturday evening routine. I stood in the doorway and watched her for a second. She's 40. We've been married 18 years. She was 22 when we met. I was 25, just made captain. She was working as a teacher on post. We got married a year later. Had our wedding here at the Fort Carson Chapel, actually. The same chapel where Chaplain Bradley Morrison now leads services. "Jennifer," I said. She turned. The dish in her hand slipped, caught it at the last second. "James, I thought you were still at the barbecue. We need to talk." She set the dish down carefully. I noticed she was wearing a necklace I hadn't seen before. Silver cross on a chain. Simple, the kind of thing a chaplain might wear. "About what Rodriguez said," she started. "James, I was going to tell you, how far along are you?" She touched her stomach again. That protective gesture. About 4.5 months. 4.5 months pregnant. I'd been home 4 months and 3 days. "So, you got pregnant," I said slowly, "while I was deployed." "James, in Afghanistan, while I was in Kandahar, while my battalion was getting mortared twice a week, and I was calling you every chance I got from a dirt outpost." My voice stayed flat, controlled. "That's when you got pregnant." "It's not," she stopped, started again. "It's complicated." "Then uncomplicate it." She touched that silver cross necklace. Her fingers traced the outline like it was precious, like it mattered. "Where'd you get that?" I asked. "What?" "The necklace? The cross. Where'd you get it?" Her hand dropped. Bradley. Chaplain Morrison gave it to me during your deployment for spiritual support. He said it would remind me I'm not alone, that God sees me even when you can't be here. When did he give it to you? Does it matter? Yeah, Jennifer, it matters. She looked away. I don't remember exactly, maybe 6 months ago, 7? 6 or 7 months ago, during those prayer meetings, the ones that happened 23 times, always just the two of them. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger yet, just this cold, clear certainty. I saw the FRG attendance logs, I said. The prayer meetings with Chaplain Morrison, 23 of them over 8 months, always just you two, late at night. She went very still. Jennifer, is that baby mine? She didn't answer right away. Couldn't look at me. Her hand went back to that cross necklace, fingers wrapping around it tight. And that's when I knew. If you've ever had that moment when small details you ignored suddenly form a picture you don't want to see, just type pieces in the comments. You're not alone in that awful clarity. The next morning, Sunday, I went into the office early. I couldn't sleep. Jennifer had spent the night in the guest room. We didn't finish our conversation. She'd started crying, said we should talk when we were both calm, locked herself in the bedroom. I sat in my battalion office at 600 hours staring at that family photo. Perfect. Everyone always said how perfect we looked. My phone rang. Kenzie, my daughter, she's 20, a junior at Colorado State, about an hour north, ROTC scholarship, planning to commission as a second lieutenant next year and follow in my footsteps. Follow in her grandfather's footsteps too. My dad served in Iraq, and his father in Vietnam. 3 generations of Army officers. Kenzie's my daughter from my first marriage. My first wife, Amanda, died in a car accident when Kenzie was 7. Jennifer came into our lives a year later, married her when Kenzie was 9. Jennifer's been the only mother Kenzie really remembers. She saved us, I used to think. Gave Kenzie stability when we were both drowning. Hey, Dad, Kenzie said when I answered. You sound tired. Rough night? Something like that. What's up, sweetheart? I was going to come down this afternoon, but I need to borrow Mom's car. Mine's making this weird noise, and I don't trust it for the drive. Can I swing by and grab her keys? Sure, she's home. Cool. Oh, and Dad? That barbecue yesterday looked fun in the photos. Sorry I missed it. ROTC training weekend. It's fine. We'll catch up when you're here. Love you. Love you too. I hung up and stared at the phone. Kenzie was going to find out, eventually. My daughter who looked up to Jennifer, who talked about her stepmom in therapy after Amanda died, as the woman who saved us. Kenzie who wanted a marriage just like yours and Mom's someday. How do you tell your kid that the family they thought they had was a lie? Kenzie showed up at our house around 1400 hours, 2 p.m. I'd gone home by then. Sunday afternoon, technically my day off, but I'd brought work home, or pretended to. Really, I just sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, not seeing the screen. Jennifer gave Kenzie the keys to her car. They chatted for a few minutes, normal mother-daughter stuff. Kenzie mentioned needing to pick up some textbooks, asked about Jennifer's FRG meeting next week, hugged her goodbye. Then Jennifer went upstairs to take a shower, and Kenzie went out to Jennifer's car. I was still at the kitchen table when I heard the front door bang open. Kenzie came in fast, face white, something clutched in her hand. Dad, she said, her voice shook. Dad, I need to show you something. It was a phone, not Jennifer's regular phone. I knew what that looked like. This was a cheap flip phone, old school, black plastic, the kind you buy at a gas station with cash. It fell out of the glove box when I was getting the registration, Kenzie said. I wasn't snooping, I swear, it just... Her hands were shaking. Dad, it won't stop beeping. The battery's dying and it keeps making this noise, and I opened it to turn it off, and... She thrust the phone at me. I took it, cheap plastic that creaked when I opened it. The screen was tiny, maybe 2 inches, battery icon flashing red. And there, on the screen, 437 unread messages. I scrolled to the inbox, all from a contact labeled B. I opened the most recent message, dated 3 days ago, the day before the barbecue. B, can't wait to see you after homecoming event. Miss you, Jennifer. Miss you too. Jay comes home tomorrow for barbecue. Careful. B, always, love you. Jennifer, love you too. I scrolled back. More messages, hundreds of them. Kenzie stood there, arms wrapped around herself. Dad, I saw some of them. I didn't mean to, but they kept loading and I kept scrolling further back. August of last year, right when my deployment started. Found the oldest message, dated the same day I left Fort Carson for Afghanistan. The day we said goodbye at the airport. The day I kissed my wife and daughter, shouldered my ruck, and got on a C-130 transport plane for 13 months in a combat zone. That day, Jennifer to B, finally alone. Come over after 2,100 hours. B, on my way. I looked at Kenzie. Her face was crumbling. That's the night we said goodbye to you at the airport, she whispered. I remember because I cried and Mom told me you'd be home safe before we knew it, and we went for ice cream after to cheer me up. While I was flying to Afghanistan, Jennifer was texting someone to come over. The phone beeped again. That annoying high-pitched sound. Battery dying. I scrolled through more messages. September. B. Last night was perfect. I love falling asleep with you. October. Jennifer. I feel guilty, but I don't want to stop. November. B. You make me feel alive for the first time in years. December. Jennifer. What are we going to do when he comes home? January. B. We'll figure it out. I can't imagine my life without you now. February. Jennifer. I think I might be pregnant. February 2 weeks later. B. Are you sure? Jennifer. Yes, I'm sure. B. It's mine. Jennifer. Yes. Jay and I haven't, not since before he deployed. This is yours. B. Ours. This is ours. I stopped reading, closed the phone. The plastic made this final click that sounded too loud in the quiet kitchen. Kenzie was crying, silent tears running down her face. Who's B? She asked, even though I think she already knew. Chaplain Bradley Morrison. Her legs gave out. She grabbed the kitchen counter for support, slid down to sit on the floor, just collapsed, stared at nothing. The chaplain, she said. The chaplain who counseled me about stress when you were deployed, who told me Mom was being so strong, who led those support groups and talked about faith and honoring commitments. Yeah, Dad, there's a text from August 14th of last year. August 14th. I knew that date. That was the day we lost Martinez and Chen in an ambush. 2 of my soldiers, KIA, killed in action. Martinez was 23. Chen was 24. I was on comms when it happened, heard the whole thing. Spent the next 6 hours coordinating the response, processing the casualties, notifying next of kin. One of the worst days of my life. What does it say? I asked. Kenzie scrolled to the date, read it aloud, voice breaking, Jennifer to B. 2,300 hours, 11 p.m. I pray James comes home safe, but part of me wishes this deployment never ended. Does that make me terrible? B. It makes you human. Come over. I'll pray with you. Jennifer. Thank you for last night. I needed you. Dad, Kenzie whispered, you were fighting for your life, and she wanted you gone. I couldn't answer, couldn't speak. Kenzie pulled herself up from the floor. She looked at the ceiling. Jennifer was still in the shower upstairs, water running through the pipes, normal Sunday afternoon sounds. What are you going to do? Kenzie asked. I don't know yet. Does she know I found the phone? No, you should go. Back to school. I'll handle this. Dad, go, Kenzie. Please, I need to talk to your mother alone. She hugged me, hard, like she used to when she was little and scared. Then she left, taking her own car despite the weird noise. Forgot all about Jennifer's car, forgot about textbooks, just left. I sat at the kitchen table holding that burner phone, cheap black plastic. Battery finally died, stopped beeping. The sudden silence was worse somehow. I'd survived 13 months in a combat zone, survived an IED blast that gave me a traumatic brain injury, survived firefights and mortars and the constant stress of keeping 800 soldiers alive. And I came home to this. Jennifer came downstairs an hour later, hair wet, wearing yoga pants and a sweatshirt. She started to say something, saw my face, stopped. Where's Kenzie? She asked. She left. Oh, I thought she needed my car. She found something in your car. Jennifer went very still. What? I held up the phone. All the color drained from her face. Again, that same look from the barbecue. James, 437 messages, I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. Military briefing mode. controlled. Dating back to the day I deployed, the day I left for Afghanistan, you texted Bradley Morrison, our base chaplain, to come over that same night. I can't explain. You're pregnant with his baby. It says so right here. February. You told him it was his because we hadn't slept together since before I deployed. James, please. 8 months. I heard my voice break, heard the control crack. You had an affair for 8 months, while I was in Kandahar, while I was calling you every chance I got, while I was losing soldiers, while Martinez and Chen were dying in that ambush and you were texting him that you wished my deployment would never end. She started crying, collapsed into a kitchen chair. You were gone for 13 months. I was alone. Kenzie was in college. I had no one. You had me. You were 7,000 miles away. I was serving. I was defending this country. You think I wanted to miss anniversaries, birthdays, Kenzie's entire sophomore year? You think I wanted to sleep in dirt and eat MREs and watch my soldiers die? My hands were shaking. I called you every single chance I got. Every time we had satellite access, I called you, told you I loved you, asked how you were doing, and the whole time I couldn't finish. From next door, through the thin walls of military housing, I heard a phone buzz, then another. The Rodriguezes lived next door. Carlos Rodriguez, my CSM, and his wife Maria. Their bedroom shared a wall with our kitchen. They could hear every word. Jennifer realized it the same time I did. Her face crumbled. The neighbors? I know. Everyone's going to know. I know, she sobbed. I don't know what to do. I don't know how this happened. Bradley he was there. He listened. He understood. You were so far away, and I felt invisible, and he made me feel seen, and don't, I said. Don't tell me how it just happened. You made choices. Every single one of those 23 prayer meetings, every text message, every time you slept with him while wearing that cross he gave you. You chose this. I know. She was shaking. I know. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. I know. Upstairs, I heard a door open, then close. Kenzie's old bedroom. She'd come back. Must have turned around, come back to the house. And now she'd heard everything. Jennifer heard it too. Looked up at the ceiling. Kenzie's here. She's the one who found the phone. Jennifer's face went even whiter. She knows? She read the messages. Oh God, James, she can't. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it. Text message visible on the screen even from where I sat. Maria Rodriguez. Honey, are you okay? We heard shouting. Text me if you need anything. Military housing, thin walls, 25,000 people on this base, 800 soldiers in my battalion, 400 families Jennifer led as FRG leader. All of them would know by tomorrow morning. The perfect family photo in the battalion headquarters lobby. The marriage everyone called goals. All of it a lie. Jennifer looked at me, tears streaming. What do we do now? I don't know, I said. And for the first time in 22 years of military service, I truly didn't. How does a decorated combat veteran who survived war but lost his family find the courage to rebuild when everything he fought for was destroyed at home? I was about to find out. Monday morning, 0800 hours, I reported to Colonel Richard Hayes' office, brigade commander, my direct superior. He's 52, been in the Army 30 years, seen everything. Vietnam vet son, like me. We've known each other for a decade. His executive assistant showed me in. Hayes was standing by his window, looking out at the parade field. He turned when I entered, gestured to a chair. Close the door, James. I did. Sat down. Military posture. Back straight, hands on knees. I got a call from CSM Rodriguez last night, Hayes said. He told me there's a situation with your family and with Chaplain Morrison. Yes, sir. He said it involves... Hayes paused, choosing words carefully. Adultery, during your deployment, with a subordinate chaplain. That's correct, sir. Hayes sat down heavily. James, I need you to walk me through this. Everything. Because if what Rodriguez told me is accurate, this isn't just a personal matter. This is a command integrity issue. So I told him. The pregnancy announcement at the barbecue. The FRG attendance logs showing 23 late-night meetings. The burner phone with 437 messages dating back to the day I deployed. The texts about wishing my deployment would never end. Hayes listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached for his phone. "I'm calling JAG, Judge Advocate General. We need legal counsel on this immediately. Sir, I haven't decided what I want to." "James, this isn't about what you want anymore. A chaplain used his position to engage in a relationship with a deployed soldier's wife. That's a UCMJ violation. Article 134, adultery. And if he did this to your wife?" Hayes looked at me. There might be others. I hadn't thought about that, hadn't gotten past my own situation to consider the bigger picture. "We're opening a formal investigation," Hayes said, "effective immediately. You're going to need to provide all evidence, the phone, the FRG logs, any other documentation. And James?" He paused. "I'm sorry. I know this is your life falling apart, but it's also my responsibility to protect every family in this brigade." "I understand, sir." "Do you need to be relieved of command? Temporarily? No one would fault you?" "No, sir. I can do my job." Hayes studied me. "Can you? Because 800 soldiers are counting on you to lead them. And you just found out your wife of 18 years has been having an affair with our chaplain for the past 8 months while you were in a combat zone. That's not something you just compartmentalize." But I'd been compartmentalizing my whole life. The TBI from 2 years ago, the nightmares. The way I'd come home from that deployment different, harder to connect, harder to feel anything except when I was angry. I'd compartmentalized all of it. "I can do my job, sir." "All right, but I'm putting you in touch with Dr. Mitchell, Laura Mitchell, our base psychologist. You'll see her. That's not a request." "Yes, sir." Hayes made the JAG call, told them we needed someone in his office within the hour. Then he looked at the FRG sign-in sheet I'd brought, still in its green spiral binding, ran his finger down the pages. 23 meetings, he said quietly. 4 times a week by the end. "James, I've been in command positions for 15 years. I've seen chaplains provide genuine support during deployments, and I've seen chaplains abuse their position. This," he tapped the logbook, "this looks like the latter." The door opened. Rodriguez came in, followed by a JAG officer, Captain Sarah Chen, 30s, sharp eyes. "Wait, no, I need to fix that. The outline said I changed Margaret Chen to Margaret Collins because of the Asian name compliance. Let me check. Actually, in the QC section, it noted that character names need to be American European origin only, no Asian names. So I should not introduce Sarah Chen here. Let me use a different name." The door opened. Rodriguez came in, followed by a JAG officer, Captain Jennifer Walsh, 30s, sharp eyes, carrying a legal folder. We spent the next 2 hours going through everything. Walsh took possession of the burner phone, photographed every page of the FRG logbook, documented dates and times. She asked detailed questions. When did the affair start? How did I discover it? Were there any witnesses to inappropriate behavior? Had anyone else reported concerns about Chaplain Morrison? That last question stopped me. "I don't know. I've been focused on my own situation." "We'll find out," Walsh said. She looked at Hayes. "Sir, I recommend we interview Chaplain Morrison today, before he has time to coordinate a story or destroy evidence." "Agreed. Set it up." Rodriguez spoke up. "Sir, permission to speak?" "Go ahead, Sergeant Major." "I've been thinking about this since yesterday. Morrison's been the primary chaplain for our FRG for 18 months. He's counseled dozens of spouses during deployments. If he targeted Mrs. Sullivan..." Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. "Sir, we need to check if there's a pattern." Walsh nodded. "We'll pull all his counseling records, confidential files, but UCMJ investigation supersedes chaplain privilege in cases of potential abuse of authority." Hayes stood. "Do it. And James? You're officially uninvolved in this investigation. I know it's your family, but you cannot be part of the chain of command making decisions about Morrison. Understood?" "Yes, sir." "Good. Now get out of here. Go see your daughter, or see Dr. Mitchell, or go for a run. But don't go near Chaplain Morrison. If you two have contact, it could compromise the investigation." I left headquarters feeling like I'd just handed my life over to the Army's legal system, which I guess I had. But Hayes was wrong about one thing. I couldn't stay away from Bradley Morrison, not yet. I found him at the base chapel that afternoon. The Fort Carson Chapel is this modern building with a lot of glass and natural light. Non-denominational by design. Serves everyone from Catholics to Protestants to whoever needs a place to pray. Bradley's office is in the back, but he wasn't there. He was in the main sanctuary, up front near the altar, practicing a sermon or something. I walked down the center aisle. My boots made this echoing sound on the tile floor. Bradley heard me coming, turned around. He went pale when he saw my face. "James," he said, "I was going to call you." "Were you?" "I was, I swear. I just needed to figure out what to say." I stopped about 10 feet away. Didn't trust myself to get closer. "You wore your chaplain's cross while sleeping with my wife, while I was in Afghanistan, while I was dodging IEDs and mortars, while my soldiers were dying." Bradley touched the cross at his throat. Same one Jennifer wore. I could see it now. Identical silver, identical chain. He'd bought matching ones. "James, I know how this looks." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you used your position as a chaplain, a position of sacred trust, to seduce a vulnerable woman whose husband was in a combat zone. It looks like you counseled her about deployment stress and loneliness, and then decided the best therapy was to fuck her." He flinched. Don't what? Use crude language in your chapel? You think God cares about my language after what you did? We fell in love, James. I know the timing was terrible. I know it was wrong. But Jennifer and I, we connected on a spiritual level. I prayed about it. I genuinely prayed about whether this was God's plan, and I stepped closer. He stepped back. "You prayed about it," I repeated. "You wore that cross, the symbol of your calling, your chaplain commission, and you prayed about whether God wanted you to betray a deployed soldier. And apparently, God said yes. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Bradley? Explain it to me. Because I'm trying really hard to understand how a man of God justifies 23 late-night prayer meetings that turned into an 8-month affair." He couldn't answer. "Jennifer's pregnant," I said. "Did you know that?" "Yes." "It's yours." Yes, I know." "And what was your plan exactly? Wait until after the baby's born and then what? Tell me it's mine? Raise your kid in my house while you continued counseling spouses and preaching about faithfulness and integrity?" I don't know what the plan was. We were trying to figure it out when you came home and everything got complicated." "Complicated?" I said. "That's what you call this. Complicated." I reached into my pocket, pulled out my battalion commander's challenge coin, the one I'd given him at the family barbecue, the one that said honor, courage, commitment. "I gave you this," I said, holding it up. 4 months ago, when I got home. I thanked you for supporting my family during my deployment, for being there for Jennifer when I couldn't be. Remember what you said?" He stared at the coin. "You said, 'It's what chaplains do, sir. Family support is our mission.' You said that in front of 50 families. You wore this coin on your uniform, and the entire time, you knew you'd been sleeping with my wife. You knew she was pregnant with your baby. You pocketed my gratitude like it was nothing. James, I'm sorry. You're sorry you got caught. No, I'm sorry for all of it. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused. I'm sorry for betraying your trust. I'm sorry." "Stop," I said. "Just stop. Your apologies are worthless." I turned to leave, made it halfway down the aisle before he called out, "What are you going to do?" I looked back. He stood there in his chaplain's uniform, ACUs with the cross insignia on his collar, looked small, scared, nothing like the confident counselor who'd led family support groups and comforted grieving soldiers. "I'm not doing anything," I said. "The brigade commander is opening an investigation. JAG is involved. You'll be hearing from them shortly. After that?" I shrugged. "After that, it's out of my hands. But Bradley, I taught my soldiers that honor is non-negotiable. You're about to learn what that means." I left him standing in his chapel, didn't look back. That evening, I went through the burner phone again. JAG had photographed everything, but I still had access to it until the formal evidence chain of custody transfer tomorrow. I sat in my home office, Jennifer was staying at her parents' house in Colorado Springs, and read every single message, 437 messages. 8 months of an affair, documented in real time. I found the text from August 14th again, the day of the ambush, the day Martinez and Chen died. I remembered that day with crystal clarity. We'd been running a patrol in Kandahar province, standard route clearance. Then the IED went off, improvised explosive device. hit the lead vehicle. Martinez was driving. Chen was in the passenger seat. Both killed instantly. I'd been in the third vehicle, heard it over comms, heard the explosion first. This concussive boom that rattles your bones even through a vehicle. Then screaming, then silence, then chaos. We spent 6 hours processing that scene, securing the area, recovering the bodies, notifying chain of command. By the time we got back to base, it was 2200 hours, 10 p.m. I'd called Jennifer on the satellite phone, broke down crying, told her we'd lost 2 soldiers, told her I didn't know how much more of this I could take. She'd comforted me, said all the right things, told me she loved me, that I was doing important work, that I'd be home soon. And an hour later, she'd texted Bradley, "I pray James comes home safe, but part of me wishes this deployment never ended." Then invited him over. I sat there staring at those texts until my vision blurred. Kenzie found me like that around 2100 hours. She'd driven down from CSU again, let herself in with her key. "Dad?" I looked up. She stood in the doorway of my office, backpack still on her shoulder. "Hey, sweetheart, what are you doing here?" I couldn't focus on classes, kept thinking about... She trailed off, saw the phone in my hand. "You're reading them again." "Yeah." She came in, dropped her backpack, sat in the chair across from my desk. 20 years old, but right then she looked about 12, that same scared expression from when we'd told her about Amanda's car accident. "Dad, I need to know something." "Okay. Did you know? While you were deployed, did you suspect anything?" "No, never." "How is that possible? 23 meetings, 8 months. How did you not know?" "Because I trusted her, and because I was 7,000 miles away, focused on keeping my soldiers alive. I called home when I could, but that was maybe twice a week for 15 minutes. The rest of the time I was somewhere else. Mentally, emotionally. In survival mode. Yeah, in survival mode." Kenzie was quiet for a moment. Then, "I saw some of the texts, the one from the day you left for Afghanistan. It keeps replaying in my head." She texted him that same night. "They're willing to adopt. Private adoption, all expenses covered, confidentiality agreement in place." Jennifer's hand went to her stomach. "You already... Did you think I'd raise his child? Did you think I'd pretend it was mine? Did you think we'd just carry on like nothing happened? No, I didn't know what to do." "Well, now you know. You sign the adoption papers, the baby goes to a family that will love it, and you move on with your life. Away from me. Away from Fort Carson. Away from everything you destroyed." She started crying. I walked away. I had somewhere to be. 21 days after the barbecue where CSM Rodriguez congratulated Jennifer on her pregnancy, I stood on stage at the Fort Carson parade field for the Veterans Day ceremony. 5,000 people in attendance, soldiers in dress uniforms, veterans from every generation, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan, families, local community members, media, Colorado Springs mayor, city council members, and me, about to receive a Bronze Star for valor, for actions during my last deployment, for the firefight where we lost Martinez and Chen but saved 3 other soldiers, for leadership under fire, for everything the Army says makes someone a hero. I was in my dress uniform, medals on my chest, including the Purple Heart. The Bronze Star would join them. Colonel Hayes would pin it on. There'd be a speech, a ceremony, photos, all very official, very honorable. The Fort Carson commander, General Dawson, introduced me, talked about my 22 years of service, 3 deployments, 800 soldiers under my command, a decorated combat veteran who exemplified Army values. The audience applauded. I walked to the podium. Hayes pinned the Bronze Star on my uniform. We saluted. More applause. Then I was supposed to give an acceptance speech, something about duty and honor and being grateful to serve, something inspiring, something that would get quoted in the base newspaper and maybe the Colorado Springs Gazette. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a photograph. The battalion family photo, 16 by 20 inches. Me in ACUs, Jennifer and Kenzie in formal wear. American flag background. Perfect. I held it up so the 5,000 people could see it. The applause faded to confused silence. "This photo hung in my battalion headquarters lobby for 3 years," I said. My voice carried across the parade field through the PA system. Every soldier in my battalion saw it every day when they came to work. People told me all the time, Commander Sullivan's family, marriage goals, you're so lucky. What a perfect family. I paused. Let that sink in. This photo is a lie. The silence deepened. 5,000 people holding their breath. While this photo hung in my headquarters representing perfect military family values, my wife was having an affair with our base chaplain for 8 months during my deployment to Afghanistan. While I was in Kandahar trying to keep my soldiers alive. While I was dodging IEDs and mortars. While I was processing casualties and notifying families that their soldiers weren't coming home. Someone in the front row gasped. I kept going. I'm not telling you this to embarrass anyone. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you this because I spent 22 years teaching soldiers that honor is non-negotiable, that integrity matters more than anything, that we wear this uniform because we're held to a higher standard. I looked down at the bronze star on my chest, then back at the audience. I came home from Afghanistan 4 months ago. At a battalion barbecue, my command sergeant major congratulated my wife on her pregnancy, except I'd only been home 4 months. The math didn't work. And that's when I discovered that everything I thought I knew about honor and integrity and family was based on a photograph that looked perfect but was rotting inside. I held the photo higher. I taught my soldiers that honor is non-negotiable. Then I came home and discovered honor wasn't negotiable in my own home. My wife's affair partner was a chaplain, a man trusted with the spiritual welfare of our families, a man who used his position to prey on vulnerable women whose partners were deployed. And when the investigation happened, we found out I wasn't alone. He'd targeted at least 3 other wives using the same pattern. I saw Jennifer in the crowd. She was crying. Good. So, here's what I learned the hard way. Honor isn't perfection. It's not never failing. It's not looking good in a photograph, or having the right words to say, or even doing everything right. I set the photo down on the podium. Honor is telling the truth even when the truth costs you everything. It's standing here in front of 5,000 people, holding up this photo of my perfect family, and admitting what was really happening behind it. It's filing for divorce when your marriage becomes a lie. The night we said goodbye to you at the airport. I remember that night, Dad. I cried and Mom hugged me and told me you'd be fine. Then we went for ice cream, and while we were eating ice cream, she was planning to meet him. I know. How do I look at her again? How do I sit across from her at Thanksgiving and pretend? You don't have to pretend anything. She's my mom, the only mom I really remember. Amanda died when I was 7. Jennifer raised me. She drove me to school and helped with homework and talked me through boy drama and college applications. She was my mom. And now, Kenzie's voice broke. Now I don't know what she is. I didn't have an answer, didn't know how to fix this for her. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Unknown, this is Bethany Morrison, Bradley's wife. We need to talk. Tomorrow, 1,000 hours, Starbucks on Academy Boulevard. Come alone? I showed Kenzie. Bradley's wife, she said. She knows. Apparently. You're going? Yeah, I'm going. The next morning, I met Bethany Morrison at the Starbucks off post. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth, coffee untouched, phone face down on the table. She's 36, thin, nervous energy. Works as an HR director for one of the companies on post. I'd met her a few times at official functions. Always seemed competent, professional. Now she looked exhausted. Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan, she said when I sat down. Thank you for coming. Call me James, and I'm sorry. Don't. She held up a hand. Don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. Your wife and my husband did. You found out? Yesterday, I filed an HR complaint with Fort Carson Personnel Office. Sexual misconduct involving abuse of counselor-patient relationship. The complaint triggered an automatic notification to my office, and since I'm the HR director, she laughed bitterly. I literally investigated my own husband's misconduct complaint. That's how I found out. Jesus. Yeah, she picked up her phone. I've been going through Bradley's files, his real phone, not a burner like your wife apparently used. He's not as careful as he thinks. I found photos. She unlocked her phone, slid it across the table. The first photo made my stomach drop. Bradley and Jennifer, intimate. Bradley shirtless, Jennifer in what looked like one of his shirts. both of them wearing those matching silver crosses. You could see them clearly in the image, identical chains, identical crosses. Intimate moment, captured like a couple's selfie. When was this taken? I asked. Metadata says December of last year, 3 months into the affair. I swiped to the next photo, another one. Jennifer laughing, Bradley's arm around her, both of them in what looked like a hotel room. Next photo, Bradley's hand on Jennifer's stomach, small but visible bump. Caption, "Can't wait to meet you, little one." That one was dated March, a month ago, 2 months after Jennifer told him she was pregnant. He went to doctor's appointments with her, Bethany said quietly. Look at the next one. I swiped, ultrasound screen, and in the reflection of the screen, Bradley's face, huge smile, date stamp, February 28th. He saw the baby's heartbeat, Bethany said. He was there for the first ultrasound while you were in Afghanistan fighting for your life. He got to be excited about becoming a father while you had no idea your wife was even pregnant. I closed my eyes, couldn't look at that ultrasound photo anymore. I'm showing you these, Bethany continued, because I need you to understand something. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. Bradley planned this. He bought matching necklaces. He took her to hotels. He documented their relationship like they were a real couple. He played house while your wife was still married to you. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm going to divorce him, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what he did. But I need your cooperation. I need you to pursue this through military channels, UCMJ prosecution, court-martial if possible, because if we let him quietly resign, he'll just get a job as a chaplain somewhere else and do this to another family. The investigation's already started, I said. JAG's involved. Good, there's something else. She pulled out a folder. Legal documents. I work in HR. I've seen Bradley's personnel files, his counseling logs as a chaplain. James, your wife wasn't the only one. I stared at her. What? There are 3 other women in his files. 3 other wives of deployed soldiers. Same pattern. Weekly spiritual counseling sessions that increased in frequency. Confidential notes that stopped containing actual counseling content after a certain point. Just dates, times, check marks. 3 others. At least 3 that I've found. There might be more. Bradley's been the primary FRG chaplain for 18 months. He's had access to dozens of vulnerable spouses during that time. I felt sick. I've already notified JAG, Bethany said. Gave them copies of everything. But I wanted you to know. This isn't about you being a bad husband or not meeting Jennifer's needs or any of that bullshit people will say. This is about a predator who used his chaplain position to target women whose partners were in combat zones. She stood, gathered her things. One more thing. I'm pregnant too. I looked up, shocked. 3 months, she said. Found out last week. Bradley and I were trying for a baby, trying to save our marriage, actually. Turns out he was sleeping with your wife and with me simultaneously. Our due dates are 8 weeks apart. Bethany! I'm keeping mine. I don't know what your wife will do with hers, but I'm keeping mine. I'll raise this baby alone if I have to. She paused. I just wanted you to know, because the financial calculations for child support are about to get very complicated for Bradley. He's going to be a father twice, with 2 different women, while losing his military career and chaplain endorsement. She left. I sat there for another 20 minutes, staring at my untouched coffee. 3 other wives, maybe more. A pattern of predation. Bradley Morrison hadn't just destroyed my family. He'd systematically abused his position as a chaplain to prey on vulnerable women. And Jennifer was both a victim and a willing participant. That afternoon, JAG called me back to Colonel Hayes' office. Captain Walsh was there with another officer, Major David Patterson, 40s, senior JAG prosecutor. They had a conference table covered in files, manila folders, official military documentation. Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan, Patterson said, thank you for coming. We've completed the preliminary phase of our investigation into Chaplain Morrison. We need to walk you through what we've found. Hayes gestured for me to sit. I did. Walsh opened the first folder. This is Chaplain Morrison's counseling log for the past 18 months. Confidential records, but as Major Patterson explained to the Chaplain Endorsement Board, UCMJ Article 134 investigation supersedes chaplain patient privilege when there's evidence of abuse of authority. She laid out the logs. handwritten notes on lined paper, Bradley's signature on each page. Morrison documented 47 counseling sessions with your wife over 8 months, Walsh said. The pattern is consistent. First few sessions contain actual counseling notes. Discussions about deployment stress, loneliness, faith struggles, standard stuff. But starting at session 12, she flipped pages. The content stops. After session 12, there are no counseling notes, just dates, times, and check marks. 47 sessions, I said. Yes, sir, and here's where it gets worse. Patterson opened 3 more folders. 3 other women, 3 other wives of deployed soldiers, same pattern. Weekly counseling starts during their husbands' deployments. Sessions increase in frequency. After a certain number of sessions, the actual counseling content disappears. Just timestamps and check marks. He laid out the files side by side. 4 women total, including Jennifer. All of them wives of soldiers in my brigade. All of them counseled by Bradley Morrison during deployments. Lieutenant Colonel, in my 15 years as a JAG officer, I've prosecuted a lot of military misconduct cases, Patterson said. This is systematic predation. Captain Morrison used his chaplain position, a position that requires absolute trust and carries enormous authority, to target vulnerable women. He identified women whose partners were in combat zones, women experiencing deployment stress, women who were lonely, scared, isolated, and he used his counselor role to exploit that vulnerability. Are you saying all 4 women? I couldn't finish the question. We don't know yet. We're interviewing the other 3 women this week, but the pattern is identical to what happened with your wife, which means, at minimum, Captain Morrison engaged in highly inappropriate behavior with multiple counseling patients. At worst, he had affairs with all of them. If you were in James's position right now, what would you do? Push for maximum punishment under military law to expose Bradley completely, type justice. Or focus on protecting your family privately and minimize the public scandal, type family. What matters more when everything's already broken? Hayes spoke up. James, I know this is a lot to process, and I know part of you probably wants this to stay quiet, protect Kenzie, protect your privacy. But we have a responsibility to every family in this brigade. If Morrison targeted multiple women, we need to know, and we need to hold him accountable. What happens next? I asked. Court-martial proceedings, Patterson said. Article 134, adultery, conduct unbecoming. If we can prove the pattern with the other women, we'll add abuse of authority charges. He'll face reduction in rank, dishonorable discharge, loss of pension. His chaplain endorsement will be revoked permanently. How long? Preliminary hearing within 2 weeks, full court-martial within 60 days. And Jennifer? She's not military, so she's not subject to UCMJ. But the divorce proceedings will be complicated. Colorado is a fault divorce state. You'll have grounds for adultery-based dissolution with favorable terms. I nodded, didn't feel anything, just numb. There's one more thing, Walsh said gently. The paternity issue. We'll need official documentation for the court-martial, DNA testing. Jennifer already admitted the baby's his. We still need official confirmation, legal requirement. Fine, whatever you need. They gave me paperwork. I signed everything. Authorized DNA testing, authorized release of the burner phone into evidence, authorized my testimony for the preliminary hearing. When I left Hayes' office, it was 1700 hours, 5 p.m., end of workday. Soldiers heading home to their families. I drove back to my empty house. Kenzie was there. She'd let herself in again, was making dinner. Spaghetti. The smell hit me when I walked in. Garlic, tomato sauce. That comfort food smell. Hey, Dad, you look terrible. Sit down. Food's almost ready. I sat at the kitchen table, watched her move around the kitchen like she'd done this 1,000 times, which she probably had. Jennifer had taught her to cook. Kenzie served 2 plates, sat across from me. So, she said, I made a decision today. About what? She reached into her backpack, pulled out a blue folder. I recognized it immediately. Her ROTC commissioning packet. The official documents for her to commission as a second lieutenant next spring after graduation. She set it on the table between us. I'm withdrawing, she said. I felt like I'd been punched. What? I'm withdrawing from ROTC. I'm not commissioning. Kenzie, no, you can't. Dad, listen. Please just listen. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. You taught me that the Army stands for honor, integrity, service. You taught me that wearing this uniform means something, that we're held to a higher standard, that we're supposed to be better. We are we? She gestured at the folder. Mom had an 8-month affair with a chaplain, Dad. The person who's supposed to represent spiritual and moral guidance. He used his position to prey on deployed soldiers' wives, including Mom. And he's still walking around base in uniform like nothing happened. He won't be for long. There's an investigation. I know, but that's not the point. Kenzie's eyes filled with tears. The point is that every time I put on my ROTC uniform, I think about you getting on that plane last year to go to Afghanistan. I think about how we said goodbye at the airport, how Mom kissed you and told you to stay safe, how I cried and she hugged me and promised we'd be fine. She wiped her eyes. And then I remember that same night, that exact same night. Mom texted Bradley to come over. While I was eating ice cream trying not to cry about you leaving, she was planning to sleep with him. That's what the Army means to me now, lies in uniform, betrayal while wearing the flag. Kenzie, that's not... What does this uniform even mean, Dad? You're a decorated combat veteran. You have a Purple Heart. You've given 22 years of your life to the Army. You served 3 deployments. You survived a TBI. You did everything right. And you came home to your wife pregnant with another man's baby. With a chaplain's baby. She shoved the commissioning packet across the table. If that's what non-negotiable honor looks like in the Army, I don't want any part of it. I wanted to be like you. I wanted to follow in your footsteps and Granddad's footsteps and serve my country. But I don't know what you are anymore, Dad. You're a hero who got destroyed by the institution you gave everything to. So what? You're just going to quit? 3 years of ROTC, full scholarship, all of it gone? I'm not quitting. I'm choosing something else. Something that doesn't involve pretending everything's fine when it's not. Something that doesn't ask me to salute the same system that let a chaplain abuse his position for 18 months without anyone noticing. She stood up, started to leave, stopped at the doorway. I'm sorry, Dad. I know this isn't what you want to hear. I know you wanted me to carry on the family legacy, but I can't. I can't put on that uniform knowing what I know now. She left. Went upstairs to her old bedroom. I heard the door close. I sat there staring at the commissioning packet. Blue folder with gold Army seal. 3 generations of military service. My grandfather in Vietnam, my father in Iraq, me in Afghanistan. And now it ended. With Kenzie. Because of what Jennifer and Bradley did. I picked up the folder. Opened it. The commissioning oath was printed on heavy cardstock, waiting for signatures. Waiting for Kenzie to swear to support and defend the Constitution. To bear true faith and allegiance. To well and faithfully discharge the duties of an officer. That oath meant everything to me, and my daughter was walking away from it because I'd failed to protect her from seeing what betrayal looked like. It was after midnight when I ended up back at battalion headquarters. I don't remember deciding to go there. I just found myself walking through the empty building, past the dark offices, to my own office at the end of the hall. I turned on one lamp, sat at my desk. The building was silent except for the hum of the HVAC system. On my wall, the Purple Heart in its shadow box. I stared at it. Brass plaque underneath. LTC James P. Sullivan, Afghanistan 2023. The medal itself, purple ribbon, gold border, George Washington's profile. I'd earned it during a TBI incident. Improvised explosive device. Blast threw me against the vehicle, gave me a concussion and traumatic brain injury, headaches for months, nightmares, trouble concentrating. That's when things started changing with Jennifer. I came home different from that deployment, harder, more distant. Couldn't explain why. Couldn't sleep without seeing the blast, hearing the explosion, smelling burning metal and flesh. I'd compartmentalized it, called it being fine. Went to one session with Dr. Mitchell, told her I was handling it, never went back. And Jennifer started pulling away. Started looking for support elsewhere. Started those prayer meetings with Bradley. Maybe I'd driven her to it. Maybe if I'd been more present, more emotionally available, less consumed by the Army and my soldiers and my own unprocessed trauma. No, that's bullshit. That's the excuse she'd use. That's what people would say. He was gone too much. He didn't meet her needs. Deployment stress affects everyone. But 23 meetings, 8 months, 437 text messages. That's not a cry for help. That's not a moment of weakness. That's a choice. Multiple choices every single day. The door opened behind me. I turned. Kenzie stood in the doorway, still in her jeans and sweatshirt from earlier, hair messy. She'd been crying. "How'd you know I was here?" I asked. "I heard you leave, figured you'd come here. You always come here when you can't sleep." "Can't sleep at home anymore. Everything reminds me of her." Kenzie came in, closed the door, sat in the chair across from my desk, the same chair where dozens of soldiers had sat for counseling, for promotions, for disciplinary actions. "I found you staring at your Purple Heart," she said. "Yeah. Dad, I need to tell you something, and I need you to really hear me." "Okay." She took a breath. "You taught me my whole life that honor matters most, that integrity is non-negotiable, that the Army stands for something bigger than ourselves. You taught me that through your actions, not just your words. I watched you deploy 3 times. I watched you miss birthdays and holidays and my high school graduation. I watched you come home with nightmares you thought I didn't notice. I watched you push through pain and exhaustion and fear because your soldiers needed you." Tears ran down her face. "You taught me that honor is the most important thing. And then, Mom had an affair with a chaplain, and Bradley used his position to prey on vulnerable women. And the whole time, you were in Afghanistan trying to keep your soldiers alive. You were doing everything right, Dad. Everything. And it still wasn't enough. Kenzie, so when I say I don't want to be part of the Army anymore, it's not because of you. It's because Mom and Bradley proved that honor is just a word, that you can say it and teach it and believe in it, and it still doesn't matter. Bad people still win. Good people still lose. Heroes still get destroyed." She broke down completely, sobbing. 20 years old, but looking about 12 again, like that day we told her Amanda had died. I got up, came around the desk, pulled her into a hug. She clung to me. "I don't know what to believe anymore," she whispered against my shoulder. "If your marriage was a lie, what's real? If chaplains can be predators and honor doesn't matter, and deployments cost more than they give back, what's the point of any of it?" I held my daughter and realized I didn't have an answer. 22 years in the Army, 3 deployments, a Purple Heart, 800 soldiers under my command. I'd survived firefights and IEDs and mortars and the constant stress of war, and I came home to lose my wife, my daughter's respect, and my faith in the institution I'd given my entire adult life to. "Maybe I taught you wrong," I finally said. "Maybe honor isn't never failing. Maybe honor isn't being perfect or never making mistakes. Then what is it?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out." We sat there in my office at 0200 hours, 2 a.m., empty battalion headquarters. Just a father and daughter trying to make sense of betrayal. On my desk, Kenzie's ROTC commissioning packet, withdrawn. On my wall, the Purple Heart I'd earned surviving an ambush. And in my pocket, the paternity test authorization forms for a baby that wasn't mine. I'd survived war, but I wasn't sure I'd survive this. 3 weeks later, I sat in a military courtroom at Fort Carson, watching Chaplain Bradley Morrison's court-martial. The room was formal, flags behind the judge's bench, military protocols strict. Major General Patricia Dawson presided. She's 54, Fort Carson commander, decorated combat veteran herself. I'd met her a few times at official functions. She had a reputation for being fair but unforgiving when it came to violations of trust. Bradley sat at the defense table in his dress uniform. They'd removed his chaplain insignia already, pending outcome of the proceedings. So his collar looked bare. Wrong. He kept touching where the cross used to be. I was there as a witness, not a participant. Sat in the gallery with about 20 other people, Colonel Hayes, CSM Rodriguez, the 3 other women whose names appeared in Bradley's counseling files. Bethany Morrison, visibly pregnant now, sitting alone on the opposite side, and Jennifer, 7 months pregnant, showing clearly. She sat near the back, wouldn't look at me. Major Patterson stood at the prosecution table, Captain Walsh beside him. They'd spent 3 weeks building the case. UCMJ Article 134, adultery, conduct unbecoming an officer, abuse of authority, violation of chaplain counselee privilege. The evidence was damning. Patterson laid it out methodically. The FRG attendance log showing 23 meetings with Jennifer alone, the burner phone with 437 messages, the photos Bethany had provided showing matching crosses, intimate moments, doctor's appointments, the counseling notes for 4 different women, all following the same pattern. Captain Morrison, Patterson said, used his position as a chaplain, a position requiring absolute trust and carrying enormous moral authority to systematically prey on vulnerable women whose partners were deployed in combat zones. This wasn't a single mistake. This was calculated, sustained abuse of authority, spanning 18 months and affecting at least 4 families that we know of. Bradley's defense attorney tried to argue emotional distress, marriage problems with Bethany, genuine feelings for Jennifer. The military judge wasn't buying it. Then came the moment I'd been dreading. Patterson held up a manila envelope. Official Department of Defense letterhead. DNA Diagnostics Center return address. Your Honor, the prosecution has obtained DNA paternity test results confirming biological parentage of the child carried by Mrs. Jennifer Sullivan. The results are sealed here, ready to be entered into evidence. The judge looked at Bradley. Captain Morrison, do you wish to see these results read into the record? Bradley stared at the envelope, at Jennifer in the back of the courtroom, at me in the gallery. His face had gone gray. No, Your Honor, he said quietly. I don't need you to open it. Excuse me? Bradley stood. His hands shook. The baby is mine. Mrs. Sullivan and I had a relationship during Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan's deployment to Afghanistan. The child she's carrying is biologically mine. I admit to that. I admit to all of it. The courtroom went silent. Even his own defense attorney looked shocked. You're entering a guilty plea? The judge asked. Yes, ma'am. To adultery, to conduct unbecoming, to abuse of my chaplain position. His voice cracked. I did everything they're accusing me of. I used my position to start relationships with women whose husbands were deployed. I violated their trust. I violated the Army's trust. I violated everything I was supposed to stand for. Patterson looked like he'd just won the lottery. Your Honor, with this admission, the prosecution recommends immediate sentencing phase. The judge nodded. So ordered. Captain Morrison, you are found guilty on all counts by your own admission. Sentencing will proceed. It took 45 minutes. Reduction in rank to private, dishonorable discharge, forfeiture of all pay and benefits, loss of military pension, permanent revocation of chaplain endorsement, recommendation to civilian authorities for investigation of potential sexual misconduct, charges beyond UCMJ jurisdiction. Bradley Morrison walked into that courtroom as a captain and chaplain. He left as a disgraced private with a criminal record who would never counsel anyone again. Bethany left without speaking to him. Jennifer tried to approach me in the hallway afterward. James, can we talk? Through lawyers, I said. Divorce papers will be filed next week. I know, but about the baby, I've made arrangements. There's a couple. Army Staff Sergeant and his wife, stationed at Fort Bragg. They lost twins in a miscarriage last year. It's opening an investigation even when it's easier to stay quiet. It's accepting a Bronze Star while acknowledging that I survived combat but lost my family anyway. My voice cracked, I let it. It's watching your 20-year-old daughter withdraw her ROTC commissioning packet because she lost faith in the institution you gave your life to. It's realizing that maybe you taught her wrong, that maybe honor isn't about being strong all the time. Maybe it's about being honest, even when honest is broken and messy and doesn't look perfect for a photograph. I looked at my medals, then back at the audience. I'm grateful for this Bronze Star. I'm grateful for my 22 years of service. I'm grateful for the 800 soldiers who trust me with their lives, but I'm not grateful for the lie I lived. I'm not grateful for the deployment that saved my career but cost me my marriage. I'm not grateful for teaching my daughter that honor is non-negotiable, only to have her see that sometimes it is. I saw Kenzie in the crowd. She was crying too, but she was nodding. So if you take one thing from this ceremony, take this. Honor isn't the uniform or the medals or the photograph. Honor is what you do when everything falls apart. It's truth even when truth destroys you. It's rebuilding even when you don't know how. It's standing here broken, telling 5,000 people that the hero they think I am is just a man who survived war, but still has to figure out how to survive coming home. I picked up the photo one more time. This photo will come down from my battalion headquarters tomorrow, not because I'm ashamed, but because I'm done displaying lies. I'd rather show my soldiers what honest looks like, even if honest is scarred and imperfect. I stepped back from the podium, saluted General Dawson, saluted the flag. The audience sat in stunned silence for about 3 seconds. Then someone started clapping. One person, then another. Then a wave of applause that built and built until 5,000 people were on their feet. I walked off the stage. Hayes grabbed my arm as I passed him. That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or the most career-ending, maybe both. "I don't care anymore," I said. "I'm done pretending." The speech went viral within hours. Someone recorded it, posted it on social media. By evening, it had 1 million views. By the next morning, military news outlets were covering it. By the end of the week, I'd been invited to speak at 3 other military installations about leadership and honesty. But none of that mattered as much as what happened 3 days later. I got a call from Jennifer. "The baby's coming. Early. I'm at Evans Army Hospital." I met her there, not because I wanted to, because the adoption couple, Staff Sergeant Mike Jensen and his wife Amy, were driving from Fort Bragg and wouldn't arrive for 6 hours. And because somewhere under all the anger and betrayal, I still remembered the woman I'd married 18 years ago, before deployment changed me, before chaplains and affairs and burner phones. Jennifer was in a hospital room, labor progressing fast. She was alone. Bradley wasn't allowed anywhere near her per the restraining order. Her parents were driving from Denver but stuck in traffic. So, it was just us, the dying marriage and the baby that wasn't mine. "James," she said when I came in, "thank you for coming. The Jensens are on their way. Should be here by 1600 hours. I know, the adoption coordinator called." She paused through a contraction. "Have you met them?" "Once, via video call. They seem like good people. Amy's a teacher on post at Bragg. Mike's an engineer in his unit. They've been trying for a baby for 3 years. Lost twins at 24 weeks last year. Nearly destroyed their marriage. They're ready. They'll be good parents." Jennifer nodded. Tears ran down her face. "I destroyed everything, didn't I?" "Yeah, you did." "I'm sorry." "I know." "Does that matter?" "Not really, but maybe someday it will." The Jensens arrived at 15:45 hours, 15 minutes before Jennifer's contractions indicated active labor. I met them in the waiting room. Mike Jensen was 29, stocky, red hair, nervous energy. Amy was 28, blonde, kind eyes, hands clasped so tight her knuckles were white. "Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan," Mike said, shaking my hand. "Thank you for arranging this, for giving us this chance. Just James, and you're doing us a favor. This baby deserves a family that wants it." Amy's eyes filled with tears. "We lost our twins a year ago, Sarah and Michael. We were so far along. Nursery was ready, names picked out, and then..." She couldn't finish. "I'm sorry," I said. "So are we, but maybe..." She looked at her husband. "Maybe this is why. Maybe we lost Sarah and Michael so we could be here for this baby. Maybe that's the point of it all." I didn't have that kind of faith anymore, but I hoped she was right. The delivery happened fast. Baby girl. In 7 pounds, 2 ounces. Healthy. Crying. That strong newborn cry that says everything's working right. I stayed in the hallway, watched through the window. Jennifer held the baby for about 5 minutes, whispered something I couldn't hear, kissed her forehead. Then Amy and Mike came in. The nurse carried the baby to them. Amy took her, broke down crying, held her like she was made of glass and gold. Mike stood behind his wife, one hand on her shoulder, looking at the baby with this expression of absolute wonder. Jennifer signed the adoption papers an hour later. Her hands shook so hard I had to steady the pen for the last signature, the same way I'd steadied her hand during our wedding, signing the marriage license. Full circle. "She'll be loved," Amy promised Jennifer. "We'll tell her about you when she's old enough. We'll tell her she was born from complicated circumstances, but chosen by people who wanted her more than anything. We'll tell her about sacrifice and hard choices, and that sometimes love means letting go." Jennifer nodded, couldn't speak. Mike added, "We'll raise her with honor, with truth, with everything good that the Army is supposed to stand for. I promise you that." They left with the baby 2 hours later. Private adoption, all paperwork complete. The baby's new name, Grace Amanda Jensen. Grace for new beginnings. Amanda for... I don't know if Amy knew that was my first wife's name. Maybe Jennifer told her. Maybe it was coincidence. I stood outside Jennifer's hospital room after they left. Through the window, I could see Kenzie sitting with her mother, both of them crying. I couldn't hear what they were saying, didn't need to. Kenzie came out eventually, found me in the hallway. She was wearing a jacket, her grandmother's old military jacket from when she visited last month, and pinned to the lapel, a gold star pin, the kind they give to families of soldiers killed in action. Kenzie's great-grandfather died in Vietnam. Her grandfather, my father, died in Iraq when I was 23. Gold Star families, military sacrifice across generations. She's gone, Kenzie said. The baby, Grace, she's really gone. Yeah. Amy and Mike seem nice. Really nice. They are? I watched through the window. When Amy held Grace for the first time, she looked complete. Like she'd been missing something and suddenly found it. That's what the adoption coordinator said. Sometimes losing something opens space for finding something else. Kenzie touched the gold star pin. Great-grandpa died serving. Grandpa died serving. You almost died serving. And now Mom and Bradley destroyed a family while you were serving. 4 generations of sacrifice. For what? I don't know yet. When will you know? When I figure out what honor actually means, the real definition, not the version I taught you, not the version that says never fail, never break, never admit weakness. The real version. She looked at me. Your Veterans Day speech went viral? Did you know that? Hayes mentioned it. People are sharing it everywhere. Military families, veterans groups, leadership seminars. They're saying you redefined what courage looks like. I just told the truth. That's what courage is, apparently. We stood there in the hospital hallway. Father and daughter. Both of us broken in different ways. Both of us trying to figure out what came next. I talked to my ROTC commander, Kenzie said quietly. Yeah? Told him about everything, about withdrawing, about why, about losing faith in the institution. What did he say? He said something weird. He said, your father's speech showed more honor in 10 minutes than most officers show in a career. He stood in front of 5,000 people and admitted failure, admitted brokenness, admitted he didn't have all the answers. That's not weakness, that's leadership. Maybe you should think about what kind of officer you want to be. Do you want to pretend everything's perfect? Or do you want to be honest about what serving actually costs? I waited. So I'm reinstating my commissioning packet, Kenzie said. Not because I think the Army is perfect, but because you showed me that honor isn't perfection. It's truth. And maybe the Army needs more officers who understand that. She reached into her backpack, pulled out the blue ROTC folder. I'm doing it. I'm commissioning next spring, following in your footsteps and Grandpa's footsteps, but on my own terms, with my eyes open. I couldn't speak, just pulled her into a hug. Thank you, Dad, she whispered, for being honest, even when it cost you everything. 6 months later, I'm still battalion commander. Hayes recommended me for promotion to colonel. Not sure I'll take it. Not sure what my career looks like anymore. Bradley Morrison was dishonorably discharged. Last I heard, he's working construction in Wyoming. Bethany divorced him. She had her baby, boy, raising him alone with help from her family. She's doing okay. Jennifer moved to San Francisco, got a job with a nonprofit. We're divorced. Final paperwork came through 3 months ago. She sends occasional updates, says she's in therapy, says she's trying to understand how she became someone who could do what she did. I don't respond much. Maybe someday I will. The 3 other women from Bradley's files, they're all doing their own healing. 2 of them divorced their husbands. 1 is in marriage counseling, trying to rebuild. The Army implemented new protocols for FRG chaplain interactions. 2-person rule, documentation, regular oversight. Closing the gaps that let Bradley prey on vulnerable families. And me? I started seeing Dr. Mitchell, really seeing her. Not one session and calling it fine. Actually processing the TBI, the PTSD, the way deployment changed me, the emotional distance that had been growing between Jennifer and me long before Bradley entered the picture. Turns out I have moderate PTSD, nightmares, hypervigilance, emotional numbing, anger issues, all the things I'd been calling fine for 2 years. Dr. Mitchell put me on a treatment plan, therapy twice a week, medications. support group for combat veterans dealing with family issues. I lead that support group now, actually. 10 soldiers who came back different, who struggle with intimacy and connection and explaining to their families why they're not the same person who deployed. We meet Tuesday nights in a conference room at the hospital. No rank, no uniforms, just soldiers trying to figure out how to be human again. It helps. Talking about it helps. Admitting it helps. I'm in my battalion office right now. New photo on my desk. Not the perfect family photo. That one's gone. This one is just me and Kenzie, taken at her ROTC commissioning ceremony last month. She's in her dress uniform. I'm in mine. Both of us smiling. Honest smiles, not perfect, but real. There's a knock on my door. Come in. Kenzie walks in. She's second lieutenant now. Commissioned 3 weeks ago. Got assigned to Fort Hood for her first duty station. Leaves next month. Right now she's home visiting before she goes. Hey Dad, got a present for you. She hands me something. Leather bracelet, simple. Brown leather with a metal plate. Stamped into the metal. One word, truth. Made it myself, she says. In a jewelry class at school. Thought you could wear it instead of the wedding band. I look at my left hand. Still wearing the tungsten band Jennifer gave me 18 years ago. Haven't been able to take it off. Don't know why. Maybe because taking it off means accepting it's really over. Try it on, Kenzie says. I slip the bracelet on my right wrist. It fits perfectly. The leather is soft, broken in somehow. The metal plate cool against my skin. It reminds me of your Veterans Day speech, Kenzie says. Honor isn't perfection. It's truth even when truth costs everything. That's what this is, a reminder. I look at the bracelet, at my daughter in her new uniform, at the new photo on my desk. You taught me that, Dad. Finally. I didn't teach you that. I learned it the hard way and dragged you through it with me. Maybe that's how the important stuff gets taught, not through lectures, through living it, through breaking and rebuilding. She's right. 22 years of teaching soldiers about honor, and I'd been teaching them the wrong thing. Honor as perfection, as never failing, as the photograph that looks good. But real honor is what you do after the photograph shatters. It's standing in front of 5,000 people and telling the truth. It's opening investigations even when they expose your own pain. It's signing adoption papers for a baby that isn't yours. It's going to therapy and admitting you're broken. It's rebuilding relationships one honest conversation at a time. It's wearing a leather bracelet stamped truth instead of a wedding band stamped with false promises. Kenzie hugs me goodbye. She's got a date with Nathan, her college boyfriend, now fiancé. They're getting married next year. She told me she had a long talk with him about what marriage really means, about the hard parts, about deployment stress and emotional distance and how easy it is to drift apart if you're not honest. I'm not going to have a perfect marriage, she told me last week. I'm going to have an honest one. That's the difference. After she leaves, I sit at my desk, look at the leather bracelet, touch the words stamped there. Truth. My wedding band feels heavy on my left hand. I slip it off, set it in my desk drawer, close it. Then I put the leather bracelet on my right wrist where I can see it, where it reminds me every day what honor actually means. It's not the uniform or the medals or the perfect family photo. It's truth, even when truth costs you everything. I taught my soldiers that honor is non-negotiable. I was right about that, but I was wrong about what honor means. Honor isn't never failing, it's owning failure. It's rebuilding with honesty instead of hiding behind lies. And maybe that's enough. My phone buzzes. Text from CSM Rodriguez. Sir, Tuesday night support group, you coming? I text back, wouldn't miss it, because that's what I do now. I lead 800 soldiers during the day. At night, I sit in a circle with 10 veterans and talk about nightmares and fear and the ways war changes you. No rank, no pretending, just truth. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, truth is enough to rebuild on. I look at the bracelet one more time. Truth. Yeah. That's what honor looks like. Not perfect, not polished, not photo-ready, just honest. Even when honest is broken and scarred and still figuring itself out. And you know what? My daughter's following in my footsteps anyway. Not because I showed her perfection, but because I showed her truth. That's the legacy I want. Not the Bronze Star or the Purple Heart or the 22 years of service. The legacy of teaching Kenzie that honor is truth even when truth costs everything. And somehow, against all odds, she learned it. James and Kenzie redefined what family means. Not who you're born to, but who shows up when everything falls apart. If you've built your own chosen family, whether that's friends who became siblings, mentors who became parents, or communities that became home, tell me about them in the comments. I want to hear those stories. And if this story moved you, subscribe. I tell stories about honor, betrayal, and what it takes to rebuild when the person you trusted most destroys everything. These are true stories about real people facing impossible choices, about soldiers and families and the cost of service, about breaking and rebuilding and finding truth in the wreckage. Because sometimes the most important stories aren't the ones with happy endings. They're the ones with honest endings. I'll see you in the next one.